George, in your opinion, does Japanese get easier or harder? Easier, of course. Let me explain something, okay? When you first start learning Japanese, you have to imagine that your brain, which has never seen Japanese ever, it's like ice. It's just this road of ice. If you've ever driven down a road that is iced over, it's got the grooves in the road where you've driven, where the cars have driven and broken down the ice. If you try to turn off of that road, you're like too quickly, your car's just going to slide into the grooves. It's not going to go over the grooves. That's what it's like. Your brain is written, assuming you're American or your native English, your brain is written in English. You have never done Japanese. So there's a lot of resistance. That ice is really hard. You've got to break it up. We talk about it in the very first lesson. We say, why learn, for example, hiragana? You learn hiragana because it's easier to make new tracks in fresh snow than to try to break that ice up. And the example that I give is the sound T-O. Your entire life, however old you are, it's easily been at least 2 decades that you have seen T-O to mean two, the oo sound. But then I tell you in Japanese, every time you see T-O from now on, it's got to be to. And you've got to remember that. So you look at arigato. Now everyone knows arigato. They've heard arigato, right? Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. They've all heard it, right? But if you didn't know, you'd be like, arigato. Your instinct is to say to. But if you learn to, if you learn tachitsu te to, all of those sounds are brand new associations with a new thing, so you don't have to overcome the English. Now, as you learn Japanese, you eventually will know all of the hiragana. Now, does it get easier? Yes, because now you've got all the sounds in your head. Every time you see a word that you've never seen before, you kind of instinctually are going to know how it's pronounced. Now, is there a little bit of a drawback when you go into katakana? Yeah, because now you've got to overcome your understanding of what that sound was in hiragana. But then when you get katakana down and you realize that hiragana and katakana could have the same sound but a different symbol, your brain is now primed to say, oh, kanji. It can be the same sound, different symbol, but with meaning. And then as you start learning kanji and kunyomi and onyomi, the Chinese reading, the Japanese reading, the craziest thing ever that there's all these readings, your brain starts to accept how that works. And you start to get a flow for, well, if 2 kanji are together, it's probably onyomi. That is what it normally is. It's probably the Chinese reading. 2 kanji together is probably Chinese reading. That's my instinct. And if I see a kanji all by itself attached to a hiragana only, it's going to be most likely the Japanese reading, the kunyomi. So does it get easier? Absolutely, because you have understanding. And I give this example a lot, but I want you to remember when you first learned to ride a bicycle, I hope you have learned how to ride a bicycle. The very first time you rode a bicycle, you definitely didn't go more than a foot. It was very, very difficult. And once you finally, a lot of times your dad or your mom or your brother, whoever, will push you down a hill, a little bit of a hill, so you can get some speed up. And you're like this. Your brain just cannot process. It's processing, but it's just like it's like 100 Pentium chip. Who knows what this is? It's like a 1 gigahertz chip when you really need 5 gigahertz to get through that. But you're trying, right? But then you eventually lose balance and you fall because you can't keep up with the balance. But like in a month or two, or even less, after doing it over and over again, does it get easier to ride a bicycle? Yeah, because now you're like, oh yeah, throw me that cheeseburger, and you're eating a cheeseburger. Sometimes you're not even holding the handlebars. It gets easy because your brain builds an equation in the back of the head. It stores it in a whole different location. When I hear Japanese, do you think I'm struggling? Do you think someone that studied Japanese for years and has used those phrases over and over again, do you think there's even an ounce of brain power in speaking Japanese when they've done it for so long? I don't even think about it. And what happens is I embed, if let's say I have a misunderstanding in Japanese, it's in there as is until it gets corrected. Then I have a little bit of effort to fix the misunderstanding. But then once it's fixed, my brain's like, yeah, I get it. Because I learned over the years. Here's what I learned. I learned over the years that when you have a mistake in your head, you can fix it. My body's gotten used to, oh yeah, I made a mistake on that. For all these years, I was saying it wrong. I could give you example over example where there was things that I had said wrong over the years, or things that I misunderstood over the years, you know? And I don't know where I was going with that, but I will say this. You'll never, ever, ever be perfect. You just won't. And you should never strive to be perfect. You should strive to be understood. You should strive to have the best accent you can have. You should strive to have, relatively good grammar, but really strive that when you say something in Japanese, someone understands you. And that when they speak back to you, you understand them, and really don't focus on becoming perfect in Japanese. But if you don't stop learning Japanese, it will get easier. You will get it. If you learn words, eventually a bunch of words together, you learn all these words individually. Eventually, when you hear them in a sentence and if you learn some of the grammar, you can't not understand it. You can't choose to not understand something that you've studied enough of, that you've put enough into your head, that you've listened to a bunch of podcasts, you've watched a lot of Japanese TV, you've had a lot of conversations with people, you went to the supermarket and you struggled to find, I just spit all over the mic, you struggle to find carrots or whatever, and that experience teaches you. I lost my wallet like the first time I was in Korea, and that's how I learned chigap. Like I learned wallet by losing my wallet, 죄송한데요. 저는 지갑을 잃어버렸어요. 도와주세요. It's experience where you learn things from, using it. But will it get easier? Yeah, if you get out of the textbook, it will. Use the textbook and get out of the textbook at the same time.